You can start by behave yourself. No, off the computer. Off. Stay there. Stay there. There's a good girl. There's a good girl. Really, look here, you've been a nuisance this morning. Don't know where the heck to put these things. Poppy, leave the stool alone. I'll not be seen. Oops. Can you look at where to put these? Because she said, morning.
Morning, Joe. You all right?
Yes, thank you. Poppy's a bit full of it this morning.
Oh no, why? What's happened?
Nothing's happened. She's just wanting to be into everything. I've had to hide my shapes, and she's just wanting everything.
Oh dear.
Computer.
Remy is half asleep. Look.
Oh, she is, yeah.
She had a mad 20 minutes, went crazy around the field, and now she's just no.
Oh, she's been out early. We've not been out yet.
I thought it'd wake me up because it was really windy, and it did. So
it's definitely windy. It's been windy all night, hasn't it?
yeah, it's been really windy.
Morning, Andrea.
Morning. Excuse me. Yeah, morning. You all right?
Yes, thank you.
Are you?
If I got a full night's sleep, I might be.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Harvey. Hey. No. Oh. He doesn't take a blind bit notice anyway. He's eating papers.
So he's still getting you up then?
Yep. Yes, little horror. Everything like that.
Oh dear. Oh dear. You like having a baby.
It is. It'll pass. It did with Sid, but these first 3 years are the hardest. How are you getting on with the pull-in?
Well, she's, would you say she was slightly better? When I make my stupid noise, she immediately turns around and comes towards me.
All right.
Which is good, but treat-wise, when we're out and about, she's not interested in having, but she still comes towards me. But a lot of the time, it's sort of 1 step forward, 4 steps back, sort of thing. So we don't get anywhere, but but we're hanging on in there, and we'll get there eventually. But I was talking to somebody yesterday when we were out, and their son's got one. I reckon looks just like Poppy, and he's older than Poppy, and he evidently does exactly the same.
All right.
But I think they just put up with it. Basically. But, you know, she was saying when she takes him out for a walk, she's there telling him to stop pulling, but it don't make a blind bit of difference, sort of thing. And I think he must be heading up towards 3 or something. So yeah.
You went to the stretchy thingy that Joe. What am I on about?
God knows.
I know what you're on about.
The bungee sound thing that Julie in the group chat.
Yeah, I couldn't, all I could find was the bungees. I couldn't find anything with the sound. So then I was thinking maybe I could do something in my hand, possibly.
I did share a whistle thing. Did you not see? I put it on the group.
No, I probably didn't see that. That was for that, was it? All right, I'll try and have a look.
Yeah, when it pulls, it makes a sound.
All right, I'll have a look at that. It's just I'm always wary about things. You know what I'm like? I'm an absolute technophobe, and I'm frightened to press anything. And I'm, what's this? And where's this take me to? And I have a major panic. But yeah, I'll have a look at that, because it was funny going around the streets yesterday with me making all these stupid sounds. Making me sound completely bonkers. I don't know what people would think, but never mind. The main thing is to get her walking properly. Yeah, I had a few funny looks according to Jim.
Thinking if you have a look at it and we introduce it as a cue to mean rewards available next to me,
Yeah,
rather than it being a signal of punishment, meaning I'm gonna stop moving.
yeah, right.
It works both ways, to be honest. Anybody who gets stuck in the quadrant is gonna twist their head inside out, which is why I don't teach you. I don't teach you the quadrant. So you'll see arguments on that discussion. I'm sure that Andrea saw it. People say, no, you don't want to do that. No, punishing the dog, blah, blah.
Well, you know what I thought about that.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Was that on the conference thing?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think they're a bit white and it falls at winter,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
I'm not quite, and we were having background discussions on Messenger, a couple of girls sort of saying, oh my God, I mean, what actually, if you stuck to the theme, that the sort of philosophy of everything must be absolutely positive, I can't. Anyway, we kind of came to the conclusion that perhaps they don't actually train their dogs, they just let their dogs do whatever they like, because you know, you don't get everything that you want out of life all of the time. Life is punishing.
So can I ask, you know, if we're doing force free, which we all want to do, and I know,
I think we are.
so we're going, if Ralph wants to rush out of the door, so my plan is we're going to go to the door, I'm going to open it, if he tries to rush I'm going to shut it.
Yeah.
So surely that's a negative connotation.
Yeah.
I know it's for a positive result in the end, but
Absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna explain the quadrants to you, but I don't want you to get stuck on them. All right, because the reason that you get this attitude that life shouldn't be punishing, because people get stuck on the quadrants and what the quadrants mean. So the first thing I want you to know about them is that the word positive doesn't necessarily mean good.
right.
Okay. The word positive, when used to describe the quadrants, means that something is added. Okay. And the word negative doesn't mean bad necessarily. The word negative means something's taken away. Okay. So the word reinforcement is not applied until you see the result of the training.
Okay.
All right. So if you were to, for example, give me a green bean, so you've added a green bean for a behavior that I have done, I would not find that reinforcing. My behavior would not increase because I don't like green beans. Okay, so you couldn't call it positive reinforcement because the behavior is not being reinforced. Okay, and this is why you shouldn't get stuck on the quadrants. And then you've got positive punishment. In other words, something is added to make a behavior reduce. But if you threatened me with a hug every time I did a behavior, that would not punish my behavior because I like hugs. Yeah. So you can't call it a punishment until you've seen the effect.
Yeah.
So for some dogs, you might add a squirt of water. Some dogs are going to say, yeah, I'll definitely reduce that behavior because I find that punishing. So that would be positive punishment to that particular dog.
And is that bad?
For a different dog, they might find that highly reinforcing. Yeah.
Mm.
So that when it would be a positive reinforcer for whatever that behavior was that you were trying to change. So the reason we don't use quadrants is all of that. You cannot fit the dog into a box. So what we do is we go the other way. We say, find out what your dog finds reinforcing naturally to them, things that you can teach them to enjoy, like playing tug or hugs or tickles, or, you know, find out and develop these things that your dog likes, and then apply those things to the behaviors you want to see more of. Okay, that is reward based,
Right.
positive reinforcement, because you already know they're reinforcers for that dog. Yeah, you're adding them to, so it's positive, and the behavior, if you've got it right, will increase. So it is positive reinforcement. Okay.
Which I understand.
Yeah.
But the as they're with their mums, they get negative reinforcement, don't they?
They get, yeah, or negative punishment.
But that's what I meant. So how is it this huge, massive, this is wrong, you're going to ruin your dog?
Absolutely.
I know if you take it to the nth degree, or a tinkle on the end of a lead as an interrupter rather than throwing a bottle of coins at the floor, which I understand would be horrible.
So if you want to get dead technical about it, you know, when you're playing on a game and the game goes because you've made a mistake, yeah,
Mm.
that is an adding of a noise, so it's positive, which tells you that that behavior was wrong.
Yeah.
So it's punishment, so it should reduce your behavior of doing whatever it is you just did on that game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. But did you find that mildly aversive? Yes, you did. It makes you go, ugh. Yeah. Did you find it punishing, and did it make you feel nasty feelings?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So, you know, this is why, and the people who will sit there and go, you can't do that. These are people who've got so stuck in the quadrants and trying to avoid either positive punishment, yeah, or I'm going to remember what the other one is that you've got to avoid. So, negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement are the ones we want. Negative punishment and positive reinforcement are the ones we want. And the other two, this is why I don't even keep it in my brain, because you can, it depends on the individual whether or not you can even apply it with that specific context of that thing that you're using.
But should in boundaries for a dog as well as the person, so that way both are safe, is way more important than, okay, yes, like, don't, like Andrea said, don't throw a bottle of coins at a dog, that's horrendous. But by making sure that you've got a reinforcer there that allows both the owner and the dog to make sure, oh, something's just a little bit wrong there, and it's not going to be screamed at for that, surely that's safer than letting the dog pull and end up damaging both itself and its owner.
Yeah. And the other thing is that you can, if you do it right, we can say, when you hear that sound, there's going to be a reward available next to me.
Like
so
an
then it
interrupter.
becomes a positive reinforcer. Yeah, rather than a negative punisher, which is when you hear the negative punishment is when you hear that sound, I will no longer move forward. And it's, you know, learn it and understand it if you want to, but for God's sake, don't get stuck in it. So the other way to think about it, and actually Ruby, who runs the thing and is driving her potty as well, what we actually want to do is try and think of ourselves as force-free and aversive-free trainers. Okay, so the point is, as much as possible, don't use force to make your dog do something. In other words, don't, and you know, this is what I'm like, you as much as possible. Don't lay hands on and force them to go or to do or to, yeah. But when they're tiny puppies and young adolescents, sometimes I think you've got no choice, because what's the option? Allow them to run into the road, allow them to run through the door, you know? So as much as possible, we don't use force to make them.
But
And
there's
then
got to be boundaries.
yeah, absolutely. And then aversion, obviously, we don't want the dog to start having negative, or again, the word negative, it doesn't work here, but we don't want them to have horrible experiences while we're teaching them things.
Yeah.
So we avoid aversives. We avoid things like choke collars and prong collars, and, you know, yelling at them as much as is humanly possible, not to yell at your dog. And to be honest, I failed completely on that bit, because if I lose my human rag, I will raise my voice. And
This is where it breeds you feeling a failure, though, not you particularly, but us, because we're having this instilled in us that you must not do this. And when we revert to it occasionally without, you feel a complete failure and you've damaged your dog straight away.
absolutely. And I'm here to tell you that you're not.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is to be very aware that the training scenario where you're teaching something is, in my opinion, completely different to real life. Because you've got essentially two animals. You've got you and your dog. You are also experiencing stresses that are going to affect your way of responding. You know, so you are sometimes going to lose your rag. That is not training at all. That is a response, an animal response to their environment. Yeah, and you have to forgive yourself for that. You learn more, you do more, you set up situations so you can practice whatever it is that you've had a problem with, and hopefully eventually you and the dog come together in a more sensible way, so that you don't have to lose your rag. Yeah, and you avoid those situations so you don't put yourself into that condition where you feel that you're going to do that. But yeah, it drives me crazy.
You know, there's nothing worse than a toddler at a beer garden that is just left to do what they want and with no comeback. And I don't mean forceful comeback, but I mean no guidance.
Yeah. I agree.
I feel like English families are the worst for that. No offense, but like English,
No, you're right.
when we go home or I see them, I'm just like, what is this? Like, it's mad.
There's got to be an expected level of behaviour, and if you don't reach that, then there's got to be repercussions. Not saying awful repercussions, but there has got to be a price to pay if you behave in a certain way. Well, not awful ones, not punishment ones.
And that's why, instead of using the quadrants, what you will have heard me say, until I'm sure it's bleeding and leaking out of your ears, from the dog's point of view, you need to be thinking what works and what doesn't work. So if you want a behavior to reduce, you make sure that it isn't working from the dog's point of view. It isn't getting them that thing that they want in that moment. Yeah. And that, as far as I'm concerned, that gets rid of all of that idiotness, because literally then all you need to know is, what does the dog want? If you've got food in your pocket and they're nagging in your pocket, you know what they want. If they're carrying a ball and shoving it into you, you know that that's what they want in that moment. If, like with Poppy, she's pulling to the end of the lead because she wants the next sniff and the next experience. So we need to make sure what works is not pulling. What works is getting mum to come with you. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, you got me on my soapbox again. Drives me potty, because even there was a post last night. There's a an internationally renowned dog trainer called Denise Frenzy, and she wins out of top competitions with her dogs. And she's just training a puppy, and generously she is sharing every single day. She's sharing what she's training with her puppy. She's giving it for free on Facebook. And there are people on there telling her what she's doing is not force free and it's not positive reinforcement. And she's having to try and educate and explain to people, I know I can understand why you're saying what you're saying, but you don't understand enough to know. Do you know what I mean? So thanks for your comment and your attempts at assisting me to be a better dog trainer, but look,
Rough.
do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't know.
It's very frustrating.
It's very frustrating. And then I'm, as a dog trainer, you're constantly being, and it doesn't help it's on telly, oh, the guy on the telly does this, so we've been doing this. And I said, oh, and what's the result been? What's your dog doing now? Oh, he's still doing it. Yeah. And he started biting us as well.
Mm.
Well, this is why, and this is what we're going to do instead. Because I can't take all of the stuff that I've done in the masters and all these bloody books that I've read and all the papers that I've read, and I can't just take it as a package and shove it inside your heads. I've got to grow you bit by bit.
Yeah, and doing the puppy class now, and doing the class with Sid, it's only just sinking in, if that makes sense. What we've done in the teenage class, I get, but it's been reinforced by the puppy classes. Oh my God, light bulb moments going off all the time. This is why we do this. Now I understand. And it's taken me years to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as you're enjoying it, that's all that matters in the end.
I am.
My job is to try and make the information palatable, isn't it? If I said to you, off you go, read that book, that's my job done.
I don't work like that though. I work with a visual. So if I have a video of you doing it, I get it. If it's written down, it's open to misinterpretation for me.
Yeah. Anyway, should we do some fun instead? Has everybody got their shapes?
Wait a minute.
Okay, so
Left them at work, so I've had to make new ones.
all right. So the aim of the game is teaching us. It's not about teaching the dog. It's teaching us more about how cues work. Now, what I need you to understand is that cues are not always obvious to us, because the cue can be something in the environment. The cue can be something, let's just sort this out. The cue can be something in the environment. The cue can be something which we might not notice unless somebody else points it out to us. So it could be, for example, with Poppy, that she's walking perfectly in the garden because there isn't that thing that there is in the street that makes it difficult for her. So a certain scent that we might not even be aware of, for example. I'm going to mute you, you noisy beasts. And so when we're looking at cues then, for training purposes, we need to be aware of how we present them. So what we were doing with the do as I do, we were showing that you have to introduce the new cue that you want to replace the old cue, and then you need to fade that original cue, that old cue, away. Yeah? So did that make sense to everybody, that last couple of weeks, why we were doing that? And this is just another way of introducing a brand new cue. From your dog's point of view, these symbols mean nought. They don't mean anything at all until we teach them that they do mean something. Yeah, and the way we do that is exactly the same. This is the new cue. Then we say the old cue. Then we reinforce the behavior that is offered if it's the behavior that we wanted. So it's really simple and complicated at the same time. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to make sure we know what we're expecting. So we're going to make a plan. We're going to make sure we understand our criteria. So triangle. What behavior do you think a triangle might be a good behavior to indicate? Does a triangle feel like a sit? Or does a triangle feel like a down? Or does a triangle feel like a paw? And you've got to vote. You can all vote if you like.
I've sort of already allocated. I've done my sit and my down, but I didn't know what to put for the triangle. So it was
Okay.
either an up or what you suggested.
Okay. So you can keep, if you've already decided, you've already allocated, keep them, or we can all choose to label them all the same. It's up to you. Or do you want me to just go all dog trainery and tell you that this is a sit? Like that, with a bossy face. All right, so that because we're human and we are animals and we're going to get it wrong, I want you to take a pen and I want you in little letters that aren't going to be any interest to the dog. I want you to just label, that's back to front, I know, because of the camera. It just says tis, but actually it says sit. Yeah, I just want you to label it so you're not going to forget what you're expecting when you show your dog that cue. Does that make sense? That's for us, not for them. Not this week. Okay. What does that make you think of? This is the point, isn't it? It makes you think of nothing. It makes you think of no behavior whatsoever, because it is a brand new cue that we're going to introduce and we're just going to call something. So to my mind, that is a paw, because I could make it into a paw. I could add 3 more circles, 4 more circles and make it into a little paw shape, couldn't I? So I'm going to call my circle paw, and I'm going to label it so that I remember. Again, it says wad or whap or something. Paw, it says. And then obviously, if this were a rectangle, which it isn't, it would look like a down. This is what the autistic brain does to you. Okay. So it's now labeled as a down so that I remember. So the first thing we're going to do is take one of your symbols. Let's start with that one. Okay. And we're going to introduce it as a brand new cue. So just jiggly pokery me dogs. Twiggy's doing her usual. You can't see her. She says, if I lay here and wag my tail, is that what you want? Right. Can I get rid of somebody? Can you go out there? Good girl. So we can shut the door. Right, so we've got a little bit more space. Okay, good girl. Need some treats. Oh, put them in there. Right, so remembering as soon as you put this on view, it becomes a thing. So we're not going to kind of wander around with it on show. We're going to hold it with the picture facing towards you to begin with while you set your dog up, or put it on a table where you can pick it up from easily. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flash it and say sit. Failure. Okay, that's fine. Turn it back around, reset. Come here. Sit. turn it around, reset. So one thing you can do, because we're only doing one behaviour and I forgot, is if we reward so that she stands up. So we can toss the food away. When she turns back round, sit. So you can't see, the camera angle's not very good. And that reward wasn't very good at getting her up either. Do it over there. So I'm going to go. Sit. Yes. Turn this around between times so it's not on view. Sit. Fail. All right. Okay. Sit. She was a bit quick then. She got in there before me. Yes, good girl. So now, perhaps she thinks that when that piece of paper and that blue thing is facing her, sit. Okay, so it takes a while, lots and lots of repetitions. So I know my training skills are sometimes a bit dodgy as well, but the order is, I nearly fell off my stool again. The order is, show the symbol, say your old cue. So we want it where it's obvious, get it right in front of you. Make sure they can still see your face, because your cue for sit, don't forget, might not just be the sound. It might be the shape that your face makes. It might be that when you say sit, you give a bit of a nod or you raise your eyebrows. So doing it like this might mean that the dog doesn't see part of the cue that you normally give. But eventually, we are going to offer it like that, so that they're not getting other cues when we start fading those other cues out of the way. So to begin with, show it, say it, where they can see your face, reward or don't reward. Remember, mark a word, reward, we're throwing it away so that they get back up out of the sit, so that when they turn back around, the symbol's back on view again. Does that make sense? Don't worry too much, because you saw I wasn't particularly good either. Don't worry if your skills aren't spot on to begin with. Let's face it, if they never recognise that a triangle means sit, there's no harm, no foul, is there? It's not going to be the end of the world if we get it wrong. So take a step back on something, just reset. You can call them to you if they've your dog's too clever, Judith. Have you thought about selling her to a circus? Nice, Sammy. So I haven't got you on speaker at the moment, so I can't tell. We're going to have a look at each one of you in a minute to see what's actually happening, to see whether or not you're still needing the verbal cue, but we'll just give you a chance to really get into it. Okay, let's have a look at you. Let's go. Oh, Don't worry. So I want you to carry on doing what you're doing. You can look at the videos afterwards. I'm going to just get you individually. Okay, remember, with Sid there, don't leave her to think for too long before you give her the old cue again. I know she did some really good thinking then, and she was so close to getting it right. But because we left her just that tiny bit too long with thinking mode, she started to get frustrated. So that's where the jiffily behaviour starts to come in and the frustration behaviour starts to come in. She needs a little bit more help.
She's looking for treats because I chucked more than one. That's why she's ignoring me.
Oh. Okay, let's have a look. So remember, hide your symbol between. Nice. So I think Maria's on it. Now I can't hear Maria because you're muted, but are you with your thumbs or whatever? Is that still with old Q? Or is old Q kind of disappearing or gone? So still got old Q at the moment. Grand. Okay. Just do it again, Mum, for God's sake. Like this learning malarkey. Carry on. Okay. Let's see who else we've got. So Leanne, that's beautiful. Is that still with old Q? He's still saying sit? No. Beautiful. Can you unmute yourself so we can just prove that to ourselves? Putting you on the spot a little bit.
Right, can you hear me?
Clever clogs. Okay, let's make sure. Shall we hide some of your other potential cues then? So if you start offering it in front of your face.
Okay.
So that you're not raising your eye. Yeah. Does make it difficult to see whether or not your dog's offered the right behaviour. So she says, yeah, it's definitely something to do with that piece of paper. All right. So who haven't we looked at? Sammy. Let's just have a look at you. We'll take.
We're still using the old cue.
That's fine. Everybody goes at different paces, don't worry. And your dog doesn't care, to be honest. They just love doing stuff with us, don't they? Okay. Nice. Yeah, you can wave at me, that's fine.
No, I'm just wondering if she's doing it because it's a piece of paper, doing it because it's a triangle, or doing it because I've coloured it in.
Do you know what? You're amazing. And the fact that you're asking those questions is exactly the point of the lesson. Exactly the point. So just take a seat for me for a second. Let's just have a word about that, because That's exactly the right question. Is it because you're holding a piece of paper? Is it because there's a shape on the piece of paper? Or is it because they're a different colour? Now, do you think it was a mistake when I printed all mine the same colour? No, because when we get to the stage where we start to have them recognise a different symbol means a different thing, if you've trained with a red square, your dog might start to learn it's only when there's a red square. Okay, so you might show them a blue square and they might have no idea what you mean. If you think about it, that's what we do when we're learning language. The symbol for an A makes a different sound to the symbol for a H. Does that make sense? It's just a symbol. But is the dog recognizing piece of paper or shape or color? That is all about cognitive canine training. There are books, massive books, about how the brain learns and how you can teach dogs using brain training. And that's where we're trying to go now, because you're so clever, you lot, you know. But yeah, it's a brilliant question, and that's the reason it's a brilliant question. So what we do now is we take a different symbol. We look at what we've written on the bottom of the paper to remind ourselves what we thought we were going to do with that different symbol, and we introduce it exactly the same way. New cue, old cue, reinforce. Yeah, so this is a down, isn't it? Does your dog know that? No. Okay. How many repetitions do you think on average it takes for a new cue to actually sit into the brain and develop a brand new solid pathway? So they reckon somewhere between 400 and 1,000 repetitions for a permanent learning to have occurred, for that to be automatic, instant response. Okay, so we do it, don't we? We do it all the time as dog owners. We go, you know that? Why are you doing that? You know that. Well, actually, they don't, because we haven't actually taught them it well enough. We haven't gone over it with them well enough in so many different situations that they honestly believe that that's the case. But for the exercise of this, now we're going to teach this one. Then we're going to start swapping between the two, in theory, that they know. So that's when we start to do stimulus discrimination or cue discrimination, which means that triangle and square mean two separate behaviors, in the same way that when you see an A, you want to make the sound A, and when you see a other letter, you want to make that sound that's related to that letter. Okay, is it all too complicated? Are you with me so far? Do you want me to stop and have a break and go, don't, my brain, ouch. All right, so we'll have a go at this. I'll have a go at this. All right, you can ask a question, feel free.
Is this what they train like dolphins and things with?
Yeah.
Right. Have they got a different brain capacity to dogs?
Much larger than ours.
Right. I meant cognitive wise.
Well, how do you tell without testing them?
How they respond to different stimulus, I suppose. Do dogs respond as quickly as they do, or as often, correctly?
And how do you compare two different species anyway?
I think you judge it on your own, don't you, really?
Yeah. So Charles Darwin wrote, if you test a fish for its intelligence by measuring its ability to climb trees, you're going to find that that fish is very stupid. All right. And likewise, if you tested a squirrel for its ability to swim underwater and catch other things underwater, squirrels would be really stupid. Dolphins have a worldwide map in their brain of the waterways. Can you do that? Sometimes you can't even drive from one side of town to the other without getting lost. All right. So you can't, how do you compare the cognitive abilities of one species as against another? You can't do it. And this is a really good reason for humans to just take themselves and give them a big slap round the face and say, you are not in charge of this planet. You shouldn't be doing what you're doing, because we live with other species that are potentially more intelligent than us. Anyway, again, soapbox. What do you do to me? Oh, right, let's have a look at introducing. I've done that thing, haven't I? I've done that thing where I make you hungry for knowledge, which is what teachers are supposed to do. But at the same time, it also makes you frustrated, like any learner who isn't being provided with enough information. You're going to get irritated because you can't know everything straight away. You can't go straight to the rewards. You've got to think your way through it. Okay, so we have picture of a down. Can you get up at all? She's gone back into that mode. Come on, play. Are you ready? Down. Yes. Yeah. Oh no, it's gone behind the cupboard. Yeah. Ready? Down. Oh. Somewhere where it won't go behind the cupboard. Down. Won't go down on the hard floor. Down. Threw that the wrong way. Down. Down. Okay, so it's going to take a while with that one. You can see, same idea, new cue, old cue, reinforce in a way that moves them from one to the other. It's going to be easier, obviously, when we introduce the other cue, because there will be a change in body movement that we can then use. So if Maria, if she jumps a step ahead and offers the behaviour before you've said your old cue, don't worry about it. It's a good thing. She gets a reward for it because she's made a guess and she's guessed right. So we reinforce it. Because eventually the idea of the game is to get rid of the old cue. Well done, clever clogs. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look. She's such a smarty pants. Anybody else got it without the old cue? Because it looks like Maria's jumped ahead. No pressure, you know, it's just that Maria's dead clever and you lot are stupids. Just saying. Whoa, go Judith. I got that one. Was that with cue or without cue? With or without? Or kind of meh? Yeah, definitely without. Brilliant. Well done. Help her. Don't leave her stuck. Ooh. Okay. Let's have a look how else everyone else is doing. Nice, Poppy. Well done. Is that with cue, Jill, or without? So with is thumbs up. Bring it down a bit. So you're still giving the verbal cue as well. Okay. Nice. Okay. So Leanne, you remember last week when we were doing the do as I do, we did several sessions to begin with of just doing the behavior, reinforce the behavior. So what I would do with that, because she's a little bit mixed up, she's getting a little bit frustrated and irritated and throwing other behaviors at you, is get rid of the new cue for a bit, reinforce that old cue so that she's reassured that actually everything's fine, you don't have to panic. Yeah, so we bring it back a stage for her. Yeah. Sammy, was that with or without? With is thumbs up. Okay, so still giving the verbal cue at the moment. Yeah, good.
We're getting a touch.
Nice.
She's that used to touching a square of paper to do something.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting.
All right. So again, you could go back a stage and just do several downs, verbal cue on its own without the picture, reinforce that cue first, and then do new cue, old cue. So it will reassure her that she knows what she's doing. So she's not throwing other behaviours at you.
She will do the down if I ask her it with the new cue, but she won't do it without the verbal one.
Yeah, that's fine. And that's normal. You know, when you're learning a new language, do they just immerse you in that brand new language, or do they provide translations at every stage of what it means in the language that you are used to? Yeah. So you learn a phrase of French and then you get to be, it's translated for you so you understand what it is you're trying to say. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look then. If you take a seat for me for a second. And just blah, blah, blah. See, I'm just about getting the hang of this Zoom thing now. And then we'll be going, I won't need it anymore. I'm not quite sure what to do, whether or not to keep some Zoom lessons going, whether or not I've got the time as well. So now, you can quite quickly introduce your cue discrimination phase, quite quickly. What I want you to do for this bit, so that you don't mess it up, is on the back of the piece of paper, so that you can see when you're showing it to the dog what you're intending. So Tiz, obviously, Sid, what you're intending that they do. So you don't have to fuddle about and worry about whether or not you're showing the right one. Okay. So I've got them both on my piece of papers on the desk where I can reach them. I'm going to get my dog's attention, wake her up. Can you get up here? Okay. And I'm going to go down. Okay, oh, very nice. Throw that away. Good girl. That was no cue. Okay. Down. So at the minute she's a little bit confused. She says, so a piece of paper means do that one. Yes, good girl. Down. Okay, that's what I want you to do. One, then the other. But remember, you saw there, she guessed wrong, that's fine. You don't have to say anything. We just reset. We don't have to tell them no, we don't have to get upset with them. We just reset, come back with that symbol again and offer them the opportunity to make the other guess. It's a 50-50 guess. If they've just guessed wrong, they're more likely to guess right. And, you know, be patient. It's a brand new thing. It's actually more complicated. Tilly sits anyway for a treat with no cue. True, if they've got a standard sort of default sit, then you're kind of cheating, aren't you? But take it. It's still a win. Jill, I've just noticed that Poppy, when she lays down, she leaves her legs all splayed out. Is that standard for her? Is that normal for her? So she leaves her legs kind of like that instead of tucking them under her. They're kind of. Have a look on the video when you look at the video, because that can indicate hip issues. And if she's got pain with the hips, that might be one of the things that's causing her to have problems. She says, now my mummy's worried, I get worried. I shouldn't have said anything. Should have mentioned it to you separate. That's better. Now she's tidy with her hips. So obviously, if you were doing this professionally, you'd have a little tick box of, I offered this symbol and they got it right, tick. I offered this symbol and they got it wrong, tick. So you'd be able to score yourself and your dog's sort of level for that particular symbol. That's quite hard to do. At the best of times, beautiful. Well done, Jill.
Ralph lays with his legs out back like a frog.
Yeah, so he's a puppy, he's allowed.
Oh, okay.
His ligaments are all going to be floppy and silly at this age. So I don't panic about it when they're really young, but everything should tighten up a bit.
Right.
So quite often you'll see when dogs are sitting, if they're sitting and they tend to leave one hip laying out, then they've probably got a sore hip.
Oh, I see. Do they not focus as well as adult dogs as well?
Oh yeah, their whole body's wrong.
I mean, sort of vision wise, because he tends to, yeah, oh, that's all right. I'm freaking out that he can't see.
No, they can't track movement very easily. Their nose and their eyes are not connected.
Oh, okay.
Until they learn to put the two bits of information together.
Right. Because I've been sort of putting my finger near his eyes and he's not flinching, whereas Sid flinches, but he can spot a treat on the floor.
Yeah.
But I've got myself in tears about it.
Yeah, well, keep an eye on it, but everything, even the eyes are not completely connected to the brain properly until they've learned how to see things.
Yeah, he misjudges distances at the minute, so when he jumps up at the sofa, he might miss a bit.
Yeah, that's normal.
Okay.
He hasn't made those pathways strong yet, those bits of information, you know. Right, so the last symbol then, circle. We're going to introduce again, new cue. This one I decided is going to be paw. Doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be. Good girl. You come here. Ready? Oh, didn't remove it. Bad dog trainer. She's going to offer all sorts of things. So, going to be difficult, isn't it, actually, to remove a great big hand signal as part of my cue. So what I'm just going to do, right, she does have paw on verbal cue. So we're going to go paw, yes, good girl. So that was my mistake. Paw. Similar. I'm going to pay for it because it's a bit of lateral thinking, that one, isn't it? Oh. I might be stuck with this now. But do you know what? I'm liking that, so I'm going to go with that. Oh. Not completely convinced that I want you to learn. Yes. It's her favourite go-to trick, the sit-up trick. She does it when she just wants me to pay attention to her. Come here. When she just wants me to go in the tree cupboard or whatever, so it's always her go-to. If she's not sure what to do, she'll do it, sit up and beg. So it's just the one cue on its own to begin with. And then at home, you can practice cue discrimination between the three. So it's up to you, if you write your plan, it's up to you whether or not you get your cue discrimination in place with the verbal cue, or whether you train each individually and get rid of the verbal cue and then do your cue discrimination after. To my mind, it doesn't make a difference which way you do it, but either way, you are going to have to do those two things. So you are going to have to get rid of the old cue, so you fade it away, and you are going to have to do the cue discrimination so that they understand there's a difference between each symbol and what your intended behavior is to be connected with that symbol. Does that make sense to everybody? Oh, she's done it. She says, I do chin because that's what we were doing last week. Little Judith, she's going chin. You want chin, yeah? And Twiggy was after. And if they're getting frantic and silly, it's because it's all too complicated and it's worrying them. You can always go back to making sure that the old cue is comfortable and that they understand it. She says, can we do this instead, Maria? She says, can we do this instead? This one's not so complicated. We can play instead, yeah? Look how sexy I am and I just want to play instead. Should we stop learning, Mummy? Should we stop it now? They are good at communicating with us. We just need to learn to understand them a bit. All right, let's have a chat, everybody. Let's unmute you all. All right, so what do you think of that?
I think I need new symbols.
They've been chewed.
No, I've coloured them in.
I coloured mine in as well. Coloured mine in.
I need to take away that response.
Right.
So I know she's trying, well, so I can narrow it down to either paper or shape rather than paper, shape and colour.
Yeah, you can get dead technical about it if you want to, or you can go to yourself, this is fun. This is something new to try with my dog and I could just enjoy it and go with the flow.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, it's just, I spent a full day with Twiggy with Kay Atwood doing the cognitive skills workshop. And I don't honestly think I came away understanding it all, but I definitely had fun. I definitely had a dog who was very tired by the end of that day. And it was 2 days actually. The second day she was like she is just now. She was like, I go back to bed every time we finish an exercise. I'm just going to go and lay on my bed. So no, like this. And we took in the end on the second day. We took a 2-hour break where I just left her in a bed and went to watch everybody else working because she was done. She was cooked. But I would say, even though I didn't understand it all of the games were fun and interactive between me and the dog. Does that make sense? So you don't have to be a canine cognitive scientist and understand it all. You can just go into it for, let's see what we can do with this. So one of the other games that I'd quite like to do either next week or the week after, what we might do is go back and do a little bit of do as I do and a little bit of this next week. But on the last week, I was thinking what we might have a look at is a game called matching to sample. Matching to sample. So that means that you show a dog a object, a picture. I've got a frog. Show a picture of an object, and they have to indicate that they understand by going to and touching the same object. Yeah. So for those, I might have messed us up a little bit because it's only just occurred to me. We usually use noughts and crosses. So we usually use a cross symbol and a naught crystal symbol, but it doesn't actually matter as long as you've got some really clear, obvious symbols that are good contrast with paper, so that they're not sort of hiding away and the colour doesn't hide away on the piece of paper. And it can be pictures of toys or it can be pictures of whatever, but you need two of the same. Yeah. And you need 2 or 3 different options of different pictures that are very different shape. Okay, so she had pictures of dogs, pictures of fish, pictures of, it doesn't matter, it's random. What we're looking for is the dog being able to learn, when you show me that one, I need to go and touch the same one. So you're at the unit, you might remember I had those big round circles with faces on that were all slightly different. You may not have seen them, but they're big plastic round circles with different high contrast faces on, that's what we used to use for that game. But you could use number symbols because number symbols are quite different. Yeah. So have a think about it. I'm not going to do that one next week because I think we can go over the do as I do and this as well. So make sure you've still got your symbols for next week.
You know, it's Easter Sunday.
No, Dawn did say, do you want to play or are we going to go out and play somewhere else, didn't she? I'd forgotten about that.
How can you forget about the Easter eggs?
I don't get any. Nobody
What?
looked at me.
Oh.
Although the neighbour did bring cheesecake round again last night.
Keeper.
I'm pretty sure he just wants my eggs.
Which eggs?
Do you want me to get in touch with the people in Waith who hire out space so we can have a space all to ourselves?
Yeah.
I'm up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have a particular time? Will 10 o'clock suit everybody again for bank holiday meet up and play?
Yeah.
If we meet in the Waith place, I'll just show you. I'll send a thing for you, but I'll need to make sure they haven't closed or something for bank holiday. Let's have a look. Dog field. Not going to be able to find it straight away, am I? Dawn's got the details. So I'll ask her and then we'll send it to WhatsApp and we'll try and organise ourselves to meet up on the bank holiday for but it's quite a decent space and it's definitely a safe space and it will just be us, so we won't have to, but we'll see if they're going to let us in a big group. All right. So other than that, hope you have a really nice rest of your day. Rest being the word. I'm not. Dawn's booked me entirely up to the hilt today. So, all right. So I'll see you later.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.